The marketplace was loud and cold. Snow fell lightly on broken cages and rusted metal stands. Alien traders shouted in harsh voices, calling out prices and waving their arms to get attention. But no one looked at the small cage at the very end of the row. Inside that cage sat a girl. She looked almost like a human, but her skin had a soft blue color. Her hair was long, tangled, and silver like moonlight. Her clothes were torn and dirty. Her eyes were dull and empty. She sat with her arms wrapped around her knees, not moving. She didn't blink. She didn't speak. She didn't cry. She looked like a broken doll, forgotten in a trash pile. A fat alien trader stood next to the cage. He wore a thick coat made of animal skin and shouted at the passing crowd. Worthless, but still alive. Half price. Just 100 credits. No one stopped. She's not even worth 5 credits. One alien laughed. Too thin, another said. She doesn't even talk, one woman hissed. Maybe she's not even alive. The trader kicked the cage. The girl flinched but didn't speak. She's alive, the trader said with a wide grin. She just needs training. Everyone walked away. For hours, no one came close. The other slaves had already been sold. Strong workers, pretty dancers, clever bots, but not her. She was the last one left. The sun began to set. The snow grew heavier. The trader looked angry now. Fine, he shouted. 10 credits. Just take her. Still, no one moved. Then someone stepped forward. He wore a black coat and boots that crunched in the snow. He was human. His face was partly covered by a scarf, and snowflakes rested on his shoulders. He didn't say a word. He just looked at the girl in the cage. The trader blinked. You, human, you want this one? The man nodded once. The trader laughed. She's broken. Can't walk, can't speak. Useless. The man pulled out a small pouch and dropped it into the trader's hands. The trader opened it. His eyes widened. It was more than 10 credits. She's yours, he said quickly. Don't say I didn't warn you. The man stepped forward, knelt beside the cage, and slowly opened the rusty door. The girl didn't move. She looked at him with dead eyes. It's okay, he said quietly. You're coming with me. She blinked once. Hurt. Her lips parted slightly, but no sound came. Out. He took off his coat and gently wrapped it around her cold body. Then, slowly, carefully, he lifted her into his arms. She was light, too light, as if she hadn't eaten properly in weeks. The crowd stared. Some whispered, others laughed. What's he gonna do with that thing? Maybe humans like broken toys. Crazy human. But the man didn't care. He walked away, holding her close. The snow followed them into the distance. The marketplace faded behind them, and the sound of traders shouting grew quiet in his arms. The girl closed her eyes. For the first time in a long while, she felt warm. She didn't know why this man had taken her. She didn't trust him. She didn't understand him. But something inside her, something small and weak, felt like it might wake up again. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't trash. Maybe someone had finally seen her. The snow had not stopped falling. The man walked through the frozen forest, each step slow and careful. In his arms, the alien girl stayed silent, her head resting lightly against his chest. She was awake, but she did not speak. Her eyes stayed open, watching the sky through falling snow. They reached a small cabin hidden between tall trees. It was quiet, old, and half buried in snow. Smoke rose from the chimney. The place looked lonely, just like her. He opened the wooden door with his shoulder and stepped inside. The warmth from a fire touched her skin. She blinked once, then closed her eyes for just a second. The man placed her gently on a soft blanket near the fire. He didn't say anything, He didn't stare. He just walked away and began removing his snow-covered boots. She waited for the pain, for shouting, for cold chains, but nothing came. He returned with a metal cup of warm broth, kneeling beside her. He held it out. "Drink," he said. She didn't move. He didn't force her. Instead, he set the cup down beside her and stood up. Then he sat across the room, near a small table filled with broken tools, wires, and strange devices. She looked at the cup. Steam rose slowly from it. The smell was strange, but not bad. Her fingers twitched. Carefully, weakly, she reached out and held it in both hands. It was hot, too hot. She dropped it and hissed softly in pain. The man didn't move. He didn't laugh. He just looked over and said gently, "Take your time." She didn't understand him completely, but his voice didn't sound cruel. Later that night, she tried again. She sipped the broth slowly, letting the warmth fill her empty belly. The man worked at the table, silent. Sparks flew as he repaired something small and metal. She watched him with half-closed eyes. Why wasn't he asking anything from her? Why wasn't he touching her? What kind of master was this? Days passed. She didn't speak. He didn't force her. He gave her food, blankets, and a soft place to rest. He kept the fire warm. Every day, he left the cabin for a short while and returned with supplies. Sometimes herbs or parts from old machines. One evening, she found herself trying to sit up. Her legs trembled. Pain shot through her spine. She fell. She cried out then. Froze, expecting him to come yelling. Instead, he rushed to her side and helped her sit. "You're not ready," he said, voice soft, "but you're trying. That's good." She stared at him, confused. Her people didn't speak gently. Her old owners didn't praise effort. They hit weakness. But this man was different. Later that week, he placed something beside her. A small black device, half machine, half crystal. "Your translator was broken," he said. "I made you a new one." She stared at the object. "It will help you speak when you're ready." Still, she didn't touch it. He nodded and turned back to his table. That night, after he fell asleep on the chair, she picked it up. The device felt warm. She pressed the side gently. It buzzed and blinked. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Still, something was changing. She wasn't shaking anymore when he came near. She wasn't hiding under the blanket. She began to watch him, not with fear, but curiosity. Why did he care? What did he want from her? Why did he fix something everyone else threw away? One morning, as the light came through the window, she whispered a single word. "Why?" The man looked up. For a second, he didn't believe he heard it. She met his eyes. Nervous, he walked toward her, kneeling slowly. "Because I don't throw good things away," he said. The words didn't make sense to her, not fully. But his eyes, his voice, they felt real. And for the first time in her life, she believed someone. She had no name, not one she remembered. The last time someone called her anything kind was years ago, before the pain, before the cages, before she forgot how to speak. Her mind was like a cracked window. Some memories slipped out, and some stayed, sharp and broken. But the human never asked for her name. He never called her thing or trash or unit. He only called her you, softly, gently, like she mattered. Each morning he placed new parts on the table. Metal frames, wires, small tools. She watched his hands work. He built strange shapes, devices she didn't recognize. But he never hid what he was doing. He didn't turn away when she looked. He wanted her to see. Then one evening, he placed something beside her again. It looked like a braced-in metal wrapped in soft padding. "Try it," he said. She looked down at her legs, thin, damaged, unmoving. Then she looked at him. He smiled, just a little. "We'll go slow." The brace clicked softly as he slid it around her right leg. It didn't hurt, but it felt strange, unnatural, alien. He helped her sit. She breathed fast. Fear crept in. She hated this feeling, the feeling of trying, of failing. "Stand," he whispered, holding out his hand. She took it. Her foot touched the wooden floor. The brace held strong, but her muscles trembled. She stood for less than 2 seconds before she collapsed into his arms. She cried, not loudly, not with tears, just a soft, broken sound from deep in her throat. He didn't let go. "You stood," he said. Even if it was for a moment. She looked at him, confused. That wasn't how her past owners responded. They screamed, they punished. But he was proud. Later that night, she stared into the fire. The translator device rested near her hand. Her fingers brushed it. What if she tried again? She pressed the button and brought it close to her mouth. "I try," she whispered. The words came out slow, cracked, and machine-filtered, but they came. The man turned his head, surprised. "You're trying," he repeated, nodding. "Good." Her lips trembled. "Why?" She asked again, this time with voice. He looked at her for a long moment, as if trying to answer with more than words. "You were alone," he finally said. "I know that feeling." She looked away. But her hands curled into fists. Not in anger and pain, 'cause he was right. She was. Alone always had been, until now. The next day, she asked another question. "Name." He pointed at himself. "Galen." She nodded slowly. Then she placed a hand on her chest and looked at him. He didn't speak, because he understood. "You can choose one," he said. Choose. She had never been given anything, not even choice. Her lips moved as she tried different sounds, old words from a language she barely remembered. Then she said softly, "Leora." He smiled. "Leora. That's beautiful." The fire crackled. Snow fell again outside. But inside the cabin, the silence was warm. She had a name. She had a voice. She had someone who didn't just see her, but believed in her. The wind howled outside the small wooden cabin. But inside, the only sound was a quiet clink-clink, the sound of metal against metal. Leora sat on the floor. Legs stretched in front of her. One leg was wrapped in a mechanical brace, the other still limp, lifeless. She stared at the man named Galen as he worked at his table. His hands moved fast, steady, focused. He didn't speak, but she could see it in his eyes. He believed she would walk again. She didn't believe it. Not yet. That morning, she had tried again. Standing, her body shook, knees bent too far, and she fell hard. Her side still ached. But Galen didn't yell. He picked her up, set her back on the blanket, and said the same thing he always did. Again, she didn't understand him. Why keep trying? She was broken. Everyone said so. Even her own people gave up on her, but Galen didn't, and that scared her. No one had ever expected her to succeed before. Failure was easier, quiet, safe. But this man believed in her, and belief was heavy, like carrying a mountain. Why? She asked suddenly, the word barely above a whisper. He looked up. Why? What? Why help me? Galen wiped grease off his hands and sat beside her. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because I've been broken too." She didn't know what that meant. But she felt something shift inside her chest, like a door she thought was locked forever. He handed her a metal rod. "This is yours." She blinked. "What is it?" "A cane." "Made from starship parts," he said. "Strong, like you." She took it slowly. The metal was smooth and cold. She leaned on it. Her arm shook. Her leg twitched, and she stood it. Wasn't perfect. Her balance was weak. Her back hurt. Her arms strained. But she didn't fall. For the first time in years, she stood alone. Galen smiled. "Told you." She didn't smile back, but her eyes shimmered with something new. Later that night, she dreamed. Not of cages. Not of pain. She dreamed of running. The next day, Galen brought out a bigger project to mechanical support for her. Second leg, it had blinking lights and smooth hinges. He fitted it carefully, speaking softly the whole time, telling her what each part did. Her breath came fast. "Too much," she whispered. "I can't." "Yes, you can," he said. "I'll fail, then fail, and we try again." "No one ever tried again," she said, voice shaking. "I'm not them," Galen said firmly. She looked at him this. Strange, quiet human. He wasn't like anyone she had known. He didn't want to own her, fix her, or use her. He wanted her to stand, to walk, to live, and maybe she wanted that too. She took a breath and tried one foot forward. Then the other. Her legs felt like metal beams. Her arms burned. Her body trembled. She moved one step, 2 steps. Then she fell hard onto the wooden floor. Pain exploded in her shoulder. She bit her lip. Her face twisted. She thought he would give up now, but Galen walked over, knelt beside her, and whispered the one word that mattered. Again? Leora woke to silence. No fire crackled. No sound of tools. Just cold. She sat up slowly. Galen wasn't at his work table. The cabin was still. The air felt wrong, too quiet, too still. Like the forest outside had stopped breathing. Then came the sound, a soft crunch as no under heavy boots. She froze. Another crunch. Closer, she crawled to the window. Her braces clicking softly. She pulled back the curtain just a little. Top figures. 3 of them, tall, armored, not human. Alien raiders, black armor, red eyes glowing. Weapons strapped across their backs. Her heart raced. They weren't here to trade. They were here to take. She looked toward the woods. Galen was out there. He had left at sunrise to collect power cells from a crashed drone deeper in the trees. He didn't know. She turned, crawling to the door, but pain stabbed through her legs. Her breath came fast. Her hands shook. She wasn't ready to fight. She wasn't even ready to run. But Galen had given her everything. And now he was walking into danger. The door creaked. She barely had time to move before it burst open. The first raider stepped inside, scanning the room with red eyes. "Where is he?" he growled. The second followed, pushing over the work table with a loud crash. Tools flew. Sparks danced. The third stepped toward her. Leora froze, sitting on the floor like a broken doll again. "Just the girl," one said. "Worthless." They laughed. The third reached down to grab her. Then a voice exploded from behind them. "Let her go." It was Galen. He stood in the doorway, snow blowing around him, a plasma tool in one hand, glowing hot. "You?" One raider scoffed. "This thing yours." "She's not a thing," Galen growled. The raider lunged. The next few seconds were chaos. Galen swung the plasma tool. It burned across the raider's chest. Sparks flew. The others shouted, drawing. Weapons? Galen moved fast, but not fast enough. One slammed him into the wall. Another kicked him down. He fought back hard, but he was just one man. Leora watched. Her body frozen in place. Then she remembered. The emergency signal Galen had shown her once. A hidden switch under the floorboard. She crawled faster than ever, dragging herself across. the floor as Galen shouted in pain behind her. She reached the board, pulled it up with shaking hands, and slammed her fist onto the glowing red button. A loud pulse shot through the room. The lights turned blue. The ceiling buzzed, defense mode. The raiders turned too late. The floor lit up. A shield wall rose between Galen and the attackers. Hidden blasters popped out from the walls. The cabin wasn't just a home, it was a trap. One by one, the cabin's defense system took them down. Stunned, burned, and thrown back. The raiders scrambled to escape. Only one made it outside. Leora dragged herself to Galen's side. He was bruised, bleeding, but alive. He smiled through bloodied lips. "You activated the system." She nodded. "I tried," he chuckled weakly. "You didn't just try, Leora. You saved me." She looked down, her fingers tight around his shirt. Then, for the first time, she said it out loud. "I'm not broken anymore." Weeks passed, the snow melted, and Leora walked. Not perfectly. Not fast, but she walked with her own legs, her own will, her own fire. Galen stood beside her every step, never pushing, never rushing. He only smiled and said, "Keep going." She trained every morning now. Her muscles grew stronger. Her steps grew steadier. Her mind no longer felt like a dark cage. It was wide now, open, sharp. The girl once called broken was rising piece by piece, day by day. But the world never forgets what it throws away. One clear afternoon, a large ship landed near the edge of the forest. Galen and Leora heard it before they saw its loud engines. Sharp worry sounds, red light glowing across the treetops. Leora grabbed her cane and stood tall. Galen narrowed his eyes. "Not local," he said. The ship door opened. A group of alien traders stepped out dressed in clean robes, smiling fake smiles. Their leader was tall and thin, with golden eyes and a voice like oil. "Ah," he said, "we've come for her." Leora stepped back. She was sold for 10 credits. The man continued. "A mistake. A rare bloodline. There's value in her now. High value." Galen's face hardened. "She's not for sale." The man smiled wider. "Everything has a price." Leora stepped forward this time. Her voice was steady. "You gave me away like trash. And now you shine," the trader said. "We were wrong. That makes you valuable." "I was always valuable," she said. Quietly, "You just didn't see it." One of the traders stepped closer, holding out a silver credit cube. "We'll give you 5 million. Right here, walk away human. You did your charity. Now take your reward." Galen looked at Lara. She looked at him. He didn't even blink. "No deal," he said. The trader's smile faded. "We could take her." "You can try," Galen said, stepping in front of her. But they didn't fight. They knew she was no longer weak. She wasn't silent, and she wasn't alone. They turned and left. Ship rising back into the sky with a low growl. Leora stood still. For a long time. Then she whispered, "They only wanted me when I looked fixed." Galen nodded. "Let them want," he said. "You don't belong to them." "I don't belong to anyone," she said. And for the first time, she smiled. That night, she added a final piece to her new armor crafted by her hands, shaped by her will. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't shiny. But it was hers. She no longer needed chains to hold her down or someone to carry her. She had worth. She always did. Now, the world would see it. The sky above the forest turned golden. Morning sunlight poured through the tall trees, lighting up the clearing where a girl once crawled through the snow, weak and afraid. Now, she stood tall, her legs braced with polished metal, her arms strong, her back straight. Her silver hair was tied back, and her armor glowed faintly in the light. It wasn't just armor, which was her story, built from scraps, wires, and pain. And she had made it herself. Galen stood beside her, watching in silence. Leora didn't need help now. She didn't limp. She didn't shake. She was ready. "Are you sure?" Galen asked softly. She nodded. "It's time." The call had come a week ago. The Intergalactic Council had sent a transport. They wanted to hear her story, not as a victim, not as property, but as someone who had survived the worst and still stood as someone who had worth. The ship waited at the edge of the forest. She and Galen walked toward it together. On board, reporters and diplomats waited. They expected a broken girl with sad eyes. What they got was a warrior. Leora stepped forward and faced them all. They asked questions, she gave answers. She told them everything: the cages, the silence, the cold nights, and the man who didn't fix her, but helped her fix herself. When one reporter asked, "What message do you have for those who called you worthless?" she answered without anger. "I was never worthless," she said. "I was unseen." A soft hush fell over the room. Another voice asked, "And what do you plan to do now?" She looked toward Galen, who stood in the back, arms crossed, quiet as always. Then she turned back. "I will help others like me," she said. "The ones you forget. The ones you throw away. I will find them, will remind them what they're worth." The crowd stood in silence, then applause. Not polite, real, loud, strong. They weren't clapping for her story. They were clapping because she changed the story. Later, in the quiet of the ship's private room, she sat beside Galen. He handed her a small data chip. "What's this?" she asked. "Everything we built," he said. "The designs, the tools, the blueprints. It's all yours." She looked at him. "Come with me," she whispered. He smiled. "I'll always be near. But this next step, it's yours." She held the chip close. Then she hugged him. It was the first time, no words, just warmth, just thanks, just family. When the ship lifted into the stars, Leora didn't look back at the forest because she wasn't going back. She was moving forward faster, stronger, brighter than anyone had ever imagined. She was the girl who had been sold for nothing, and now she was worth everything.